especially when they're addressing these particular issues. That this morning right here on Lookuptv. This is the Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. Thank you very much for taking your time to begin your day with us right here on Lookuptv. We are across your social media platforms at Lookuptv. That is across all of them. I am at Kiage Simba on X. Guess what? We take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to your newspapers this morning. I'll get to share with you what it is that you're waking up to. Good morning. Start with the Daily Nation this morning. This is the big headline here: death of trade unions. And this is what they're saying: wielding enormous power with a sizable constituency, countrywide structures, and the potential to mobilize members on the social or political matters, trade unions have always been a thorn in the flesh for successful government. But not anymore. The workers' lobbies of 2023 have lost their spark and are now a pale shadow of their former self. That story covered on page 6 and 7. And there's a story here on cracks in Kenya Kwanza over taxes, cost of living, and fuel prices. That particular story has been covered on page 4 of the Daily Nation, on how President William Ruto's nascent administration is facing a litmus test as calls for cabinet reshuffle grow louder amid infighting in government, soaring cost of living compounded by rising fuel prices, increased taxation, and squabbling within the government, and a restrictive support based president. The president with a tough balancing act once he returns to the country from the United States. Good. That particular story covered on page 4. In sport, on page 33, Kenya beat Zimbabwe to qualify for Paris Olympics. That is in rugby. And family now is demanding justice for girl found dead at City University. That particular story that we also covered on our website on www.lookuptv.co.ke, covered on page 3. That is it. This morning on the back pages, we're going to read about how KPL results that were played yesterday. Posta Rangers beat 3, Sofapaka 1, Gor Mahia 4, Nairobi City Stars 1, Talanta 1, Seals 0, and Karubangi Sharks 2-1, KCB 1. Also on Saturday, Shabana FC, the new boys, then also drew 1-1. Kipyegon Omanyala wrap up track session in style. The headlines were on a Faith Kipyegon. Read that particular story on the back page of the Nation. Let's cross over to the Standard, where the bigger story is what we want to talk about this morning, on how Kenya Kwanza says it'll only get worse. In the heydays of Tanga Group, they castigated Uhuru Kenyatta as careless leader when prices of fuel hit 134. Now in government and prices are well over 200 shillings, they want you to prepare for even a tougher times. And we do have the pictures there of President William Ruto, Treatise Moses Kuria, and Kehari Member Parliament Deni Nyoro. Read that particular story on page 4. This is one quote from Deni Nyoro, that it's now despicable, insensitive, inconsiderate of the government that we elected, that their preoccupation every day is to add to the cost of living of the people of Kenya. It's exactly what is going on in their government right now. Moses Kuria is talking about it's true that we are facing the challenge of soaring cost of living. There is nothing to hide. We as leaders are telling you the truth that the cost of fuel has skyrocketed all over the world. Read that particular story on a page 4 of the Daily Nation. There is now a story here on page 2 on how members of parliament are having a big push for technology assisted consumption. Now, previous attempt by Suba North Member Parliament Millie Odhiambo to enact laws to regulate technology assisted consumption failed. Now the indefatigable legislator is back with 2 new drafts which he says will offer reprieve to couples battling infertility. Page 2 is where the details of that story are. On page 8, there's a new bill now to tame rogue land selling companies and almost 70 rights on past heroics. That particular story covered on page 22 of the Standard. And other than the story of Faith Kipyegon, I don't know what the Standard as I run away from headlines of one club that is essentially on its deathbed, Manchester United, losing on Saturday again to Brighton. We told them so. They didn't listen. Lost disappointingly. It was nothing. They just a walk in the park. Right now, any other team, even my Sunday League club, can beat Man United. I bet you on that. Fact is a dare. If you want to see that it's possible, then I challenge Man United to a duel with my Sunday League club. Yeah, they're nothing. The score lines, you don't know what they were. Yeah, 3-1. The one goal they got was just lucky. Anyway, Arsenal continues with a good form this season, and Liverpool and Man City as well, and the likes of Tottenham. Well, the big boys, Man United excluded. We don't know, it's going to be embarrassing. They face Bayern Munich this week again, away. Arsenal, PSV, Liverpool, we talk about them on Thursday, not now. Well, we take a tiny breather. Once we come back, I'll be taking you straight to your newsroom, this 2-hour newsroom, this morning, where hopefully we don't have a headline of Manchester United then embarrassing themselves at the hands of Brighton. Team B, by the way, that Brighton team was Team B. Never even played with their first team. What is the use of wasting your first team players playing against Man United? Once we come back. The spouse of the Deputy President, Pastor Rigathi Gachagua Dorcas, has challenged the youth in the country to embrace agriculture as opposed to over-reliance on white-collar jobs. Speaking when she attended the Agricultural Society of Kenya Harvest Festival service at All Saints Cathedral, Pastor Dorcas said the involvement of the youth in agriculture will go a long way in feeding the country.
In our generation, we did not think that agriculture was for young people. We thought it was for the old people. But having looked at what is going on and seeing the food deficit that we already have right now, you see that the aging rural population, their age is 67. In another 10 years, we will have 100% food deficit. That is why we are having so many problems. So we are introducing the agriculture to our young people, and even showing them how to do tree nurseries, like the young boys who we've been bringing out of drug and alcohol. I believe in agriculture, and therefore I'm going to do some initiatives that will help us be able to introduce and sensitize the young people as I go out being a preacher and being a mother and being a leader in this country. I can be able to influence some of these things with our children, because we can talk to the church and the church will talk to the congregations, and we also go out for the outreach with the young people, where we are doing the preventive, as we are going for the preventive measures of drug and alcohol. We will also be speaking about agriculture and agricultural products.
Siaya Governor James Orengo is a man on the spot after county residents led by South Game Member of County Assembly Brian Anyago lamented over Orengo's recent appointment. The leaders have taken a swipe at Orengo, noting that he has been appointing political rejects at the expense of area residents. The sentiments come after the governor this past week forwarded the names of 8 individuals for their considerations into various positions in the county government.
A year into Governor James Orengo's reign in Siaya County, residents led by the South Game Ward MCA Brian Anyago has accused Siaya governor of giving them a raw deal in appointment of senior posts in his government.
Featuring anywhere, thus begging the question if regional balance was considered. It's evident that the nominees are majorly political rewards.
According to Anyango, Governor Orengo has not only sidelined the constituency, but also given the youth a raw deal if his latest appointment is anything to go by, terming it as an injustice to the county residents while accusing Orengo of appointing political reject.
Mimi nasema kama mtu wa game, si kuona jina lolote ya mtu kutoka game na niliona position yenye alichagua Kutkochogo ya gender and youth. Kutsi youth. Ni mtu mkubwa mwenye alisafanya kazi.
Anyango's sentiments were echoed by the youth leader Benjamin Agunda, who questions the nominations of Siaya County Public Board's member to head the gender and youth docket.
So sisi kama watu wa game tunaomba governor Saila anagawa viti afanye regional balance yenye kila mtu anaridhika. Juu hiyo kiti yake amekalia saa hii. Mimi kama mtu wa game nilipigia yeye kura. Sasa naongea kwa kitu yenye nilifanyia kazi.
Regan Meguran, Lookuptv.
It is a sigh of relief for students at Kiriti Girls High School after they received a donation of sanitary towels courtesy of Gold Quest Organization in conjunction with Mount Kenya University, Felicia Maringa Organization and UNESCO Africa. As Warimu was seeking our files, the girls were also taken through gun empowerment talks and guided through menstrual hygiene.
The girl child faces obstacles in their day-to-day lives. Every month, thousands of girls miss school due to lack of sanitary towels and adequate facilities for menstrual hygiene management. This has prompted Gold Quest Foundation, in conjunction with Mount Kenya University, Felicia Maringa Organization, and UNESCO Africa, to lend a helping hand to girls from Kiriti Girls High School in Murang'a County by providing them with sanitary towels and guiding them through menstrual hygiene.
We are here today at Kiriti Girls High School as Gold Coast Foundation, together with various organizations, to raise awareness about menstrual hygiene and to break the stigma surrounding menstruation. Gold Coast was founded with a vision of using sports for a positive change in our communities. We believe that this tournament is a powerful way to address menstrual hygiene because it provides a platform to raise awareness and funds for the important issues.
The donors, led by Felicia Maringa, appealed to the government to develop policies to ensure that the cost of sanitary pads is made affordable to even the needy families.
We are here at Kiriti Girls to give empowerment to girls on menstrual hygiene and of course empower them through football to menstrual hygiene. We'd urge the government to kindly check on the subsidies of the sanitary pads for the girls, so that because it's a necessity for them, it would be really good for the girls to be able to have access to that.
From this event, we have realized that there is a big gap between the needy students and the access to sanitary towels and sanitary pads. The ones that we have provided might be helpful, but for a while. Therefore, it is imperative that the government should help, maybe provide funding, teach the students and the teachers on the better way of accessing these instruments that is going to help them in their menstrual journey.
Wairimu Wasike, Lookuptv.
Prime Cabinet Secretary Musalia Mudavadi has lauded the humanitarian network that Red Cross and Red Crescent networks have been doing in Africa to alleviate sufferings of communities across the country. Mudavadi, who presided over the 10th Pan-African Conference of the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent Societies at the Insurance College in Nairobi, noted that Kenya is still keen to continue collaborating with the rest of the Red Cross movement to achieve mutual goals and strategic objectives.
Over 160 years ago seems like yesterday, when Henry Dunant responded to a cry to attend to persons injured in war. With that simple act of mercy, his idea of unprejudiced and neutral humanitarian assistance birthed the great worldwide movement. It feels like yesterday because the objectives that inspired the founder of the Red Cross and led to the formation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent movement are still as relevant today as they were in the 19th century. To quote your president, Francesco Roca, I am speaking to the world's largest humanitarian network composed of 192 national societies, constituting 14 million volunteers worldwide, prepared, committed, and ready to respond to disasters and crises at local, national, and regional scale.
Esteemed guest participants of the 10th Pan-African Conference of the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent societies, I'm truly honored to stand before you today at this significant gathering of the 10th Pan-African Conference of the International Federation of the Red Cross and Red Crescent societies. It is a privilege to be part of this distinguished assembly. First, I wish to recognize the eminent personalities in this room who have devoted their lives to humanitarian cause, both nationally and internationally. Your presence here today underscores the significance of the Red Cross and Red Crescent societies and the critical role they play in addressing humanitarian challenges across the globe.
President William Ruto has asked satellite network company SpaceX to help provide the low-cost internet to Kenyans while visiting Starlink SpaceX factory in Lagos, Los Angeles, in the United States of America. President William Ruto urged the organization to work towards reducing the cost of internet access in the country. The president said Starlink presents a promising solution to achieving universal internet access by overcoming traditional infrastructure limitations, emphasizing that the company's investment had the ability to enhance high-speed connectivity in usually hard-to-reach villages, schools, and other institutions, effectively unlocking the country's full potential of the digital economy. The president also met with the industry leaders in the movies industry with the aim to exploring the possibility of American filmmakers working in Kenya. The head of state is now set to attend the 78th United Nations General Assembly session in New York.
Invention? Yes. Okay. Terrific. That's John Yai's last great. Actually, heard that without it. Climate change, reframing it as a human right. So we either of you are around or I'm not going to be there, but we'll send. Thank you, gentlemen.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has slammed leaders in government positions and government over what he termed as careless talk. His sentiments come in the backdrop of CS Moses Kuria's statement regarding the rise in fuel prices in the country. Through his Twitter page, Rigathi has emphasized that leaders must be mindful of what they are saying to Kenyans to avoid painting a misinformed performance of the Kenya Kwanza government.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has raised his concerns against the statements of some leaders holding different positions in the government regarding the increase in the price of fuel in the country. A seemingly desolate Rigathi Gachagua has issued a statement highlighting the need for leaders to be careful with what they are disseminating to the public to avoid misinforming Kenyans. Additionally, Rigathi has indicated that even if the price of fuel has gone up, they are trying different ways to relieve and revive the tight Kenyan economy. The Vice President's desolations has been made after his return to the country from Colombia, where he has been working to boost relations between Colombia and Kenya. However, Bumula MP Jack Wamboka Wanami has slammed the Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Industrialization Moses Kuria for his statements towards the Kenyan citizens. Speaking during a Sunday service in Bukusu, Wamboka has asked the President William Ruto to intervene and ensure that he cares about the interest of Kenyans.
Sasa saa hii mafuta ndio hiyo imepanda kabisa. Wameingilia mambo ya wazungu, wametoa subsidy yote, mwananchi wa kawaida anaumia. Boda boda wanaumia, watu wa matatu wanaumia, watu wa magari wanaumia, wale watu wanatumia mafuta paraffin wanaumia. Ile majibu tunapata kwa hii serikali, waziri wa serikali anaamka anasema endeni mchimbe kisima kama mnaona mafuta imepanda. Kiburi. Rais Ruto, mamlaka uko nayo ni ya watu. Usijaribu kuonyesha watu ujeuri. Usijaribu.
However, Kenya Kwanza leaders have defended Ruto's performance, saying that everything is still on track.
Wakati alitoa usukani, mahasla 8.5 million ambao walikuwa hawawezi kukopa pesa hata ya mshwari kwa sababu wameweka kwa CRB, wote akawatoa wakaingia kwa uchumi washikilie nchi yetu. Today 7.5 million Kenyans wanakopa pesa ya Hustler Fund, wanakopa asubuhi, wanalipa jioni.
We need to be resilient people, and to be understanding, because this is a global challenge.
Roga Evil, Lookuptv.
Let's move on then. The Azimio La Umoja coalition has claimed that the alleged abduction of former Mungiki leader Maina Njenga is part of the ongoing targeting and intimidation of opposition leaders by Kenya Kwanza. Through a statement, the opposition also claimed abduction is an attempt to interfere with the scheduled pre-trial of Maina, who is supposed to appear in a court today, Monday. Persecution of Mr. Maina and his family, that we also demand his immediate and unconditional release or his production in court. We also want to make it clear that we will hold the Inspector General of Police fully accountable for Mr. Maina's life should anything happen to him. The information we have suggests that the abductors did not identify themselves, nor did they state that he was under arrest. All indications point to this being an operation carried out by rogue police. The abductors were driving Subarus, armed and hooded. It is highly likely that they were part of the special support unit known for terrorizing Kenyans during the anti-tax protests. The SSU is evidently still active and determined to intimidate and harm Kenyans. Maina's abduction is also part of the ongoing targeting and intimidation of opposition leaders by Kenya Kwanza. It is a deliberate attempt to distract Kenyans from processing issues such as the rising cost of fuel and food. End statement. So it's clear what we're talking about this morning then. Rigathi Gachagua is a bit concerned. Rigathi is asking government leaders, and we do know who that is telling them, we know things are bad. We know this government is really trying to bring down the cost of living, but in the process of doing that, there are things you can't say. There are words you can't use. Whenever you have an opportunity to talk about what this government is trying to achieve. He didn't mention names. He just said, if you're not going to stop that, then leave. Guess who was also on note speaking about this particular problem? The bullfighter himself. He mentioned names. He said, these leaders were using these words in front of people. I mean, kick them out immediately. And now, but two sides of the coin. When you're speaking the truth, are there words you should speak? Where are we in as much as this government then fulfilling its promises of bringing down the cost of living? Also on top of that, why is it that their leaders just can't shut up? We'll be telling you who that is, and also them getting proper facts about what is on the ground once we come back right here on the Morning Drift, all the way up to 10 a.m. this morning. Our big conversation begins after this break.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
Realize your home ownership dream by investing in Brookvale Tuala, a magnificent prime residential property located in Ongata, Rongai. Brookvale Tuala by Safaricom Investment Cooperative overlooks the majestic Ngong Hills and lies only 24 kilometers from Nairobi CBD. The project boasts of well-serviced plots with a perimeter wall, graded roads and a borehole. 50 by 100 plots are going for 1.4 million shillings with a flexible payment plan of up to 6 months. To book your plot, call 0729 121212 today. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, the investment partner of choice.
Hapa panajulikana kama Napetao. Hapa tumekuja na zaidi ya chakula 500 ili kuhakikisha wakazi hapa angalau wanapokea kitu cha kutia mdomoni. Unavyoangalia hali ya anga sehemu hii, jamani, kuna ukame. Wakati wowote ambapo wewe unacheza loto, 25% ya pesa ambazo unatumia unakuja kufanikisha shughuli kama hii.
Thank you for your help. Together, we are changing lives.
How do women do it? Will the real superheroes please stand up? Welcome to the best show on all things women.
You can.
Now we have to tell you, on our show, we're not just talk. We're mothers, wives, working women, your hosts, and the list goes on. We also know how to relax and have some fun. It's living the life. Yes, it is.
Praise the Lord and Bwana Yesu asifiwe sana. My name is Pastor Josiah. I'm from a ministry called Reconcilers World. God gives strength to the weary. I am, Jesus is speaking. He says, I am the door. Then he says, anyone who enters in through me will be saved. The Lord is my shepherd or shepherd. Then he says, I will always have everything I need. God desires to guide you. He's telling you that this day, don't just trust the Lord, but he's telling you, trust the Lord widely.
The story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging the care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Kiage. There are a lot of things to talk about this morning, and there's going to be a lot that we're going to talk about. But just before I introduce the gentlemen who are going to join us in the studio this morning, let me give you a background of what it is that we are talking about. Yesterday, right here on Lookuptv, we ran a story of Rigathi Gachagua telling leaders within the Kenya Kwanza government to shape up or ship out. And this is the story. Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has slammed leaders in government positions over what he termed as careless talk. His sentiments come in the backdrop of CS Moses Kuria's statement regarding the rise in fuel prices in the country. Through his Twitter page, Rigathi has emphasized that leaders must be mindful of what they are saying to Kenyans to avoid painting a misinformed performance of the Kenya Kwanza government. Let's listen in on that story that was carried out by Ruga Eval. Once we come back, then we introduce the gentleman who are joining us this morning, and after that get into the bigger conversation.
Deputy President Rigathi Gachagua has raised his concerns against the statements of some leaders holding different positions in the government regarding the increase in the price of fuel in the country. A seemingly desolate Rigathi Gachagua has issued a statement highlighting the need for leaders to be careful with what they are disseminating to the public to avoid misinforming Kenyans. Additionally, Rigathi has indicated that even if the price of fuel has gone up, they are trying different ways to relieve and revive the tight Kenyan economy. The Vice President's desolations has been made after his return to the country from Colombia, where he has been working to boost relations between Colombia and Kenya. However, Bumula MP Jack Wamboka Wanami has slammed the Cabinet Secretary for Trade and Industrialization Moses Kuria for his statements towards the Kenyan citizens. Speaking during a Sunday service in Bukusu, Wamboka has asked the President William RUTO to intervene and ensure that he cares about the interest of Kenyans.
Sasa saa hii mafuta ndio hiyo imepanda kabisa. Wameingilia mambo ya wazungu, wametoa subsidy yote, mwananchi wa kawaida anaumia. Boda boda wanaumia, watu wa matatu wanaumia, watu wa magari wanaumia, wale watu wanatumia mafuta paraffin wanaumia. Ile majibu tunapata kwa hii serikali, waziri wa serikali anaamka anasema endeni mchimbe kisima kama mnaona mafuta imepanda. Kiburi. Rais Ruto, mamlaka uko nayo ni ya watu. Usijaribu kuonyesha watu ujeuri. Usijaribu.
However, Kenya Kwanza leaders have defended Ruto's performance, saying that everything is still on track.
Wakati alitoa usukani, mahasla 8.5 million ambao walikuwa hawawezi kukopa pesa hata ya mshwari kwa sababu wameweka kwa CRB, wote akawatoa wakaingia kwa uchumi washikilie nchi yetu. Today 7.5 million Kenyans wanakopa pesa ya Hustler Fund, wanakopa asubuhi, wanalipa jioni.
We need to be resilient people and to be understanding because this is a global challenge.
Ruga Eval, Lookuptv.
All right. That is exactly what the conversation is. Two sides of the story. That the leaders within the Kenya Kwanza government were saying, well, the government is quite on track and we fulfilled majority of those promises. Musalia Mudavadi included is been on the record saying that indeed it's been 1 year of fulfilling promises and majority of them are going to be fulfilled as we go by. As we go by as well, with this broadcast, we're going to play for you different clips of Kenyans complaining about exactly what's going on in government and also leaders that are calling out on other leaders within the government. There's a very interesting story that you got to read on the Daily Nation this morning. And I don't know whether my director can actually post it so we can have background to it. There's a story down here on page 4 this morning that says cracks in Kenya Kwanza over taxes, cost of living and fuel prices. Now, if you might allow me, let me just give you the first intro to this one. The President William Ruto's nascent administration is facing a litmus test as calls for a cabinet reshuffle grow louder amid infighting in the government. Soaring cost of living compounded by rising fuel prices, increased taxation, squabbling within the government and a restive support base present the president with a tough balancing act once he returns to the country from the United States. This is what he says. Further compounding the myriad of challenges, the head of state will be confronted with his seemingly re-energized opposition, which has threatened to deploy the unstated action against the ruling regime. Painting a picture of exactly where the government is right now from inside and outside. Beautiful. Let me then introduce the gentleman who's already in the studio, Mr. Mungai. Oh, wow, Mr. Regalo. How are you doing?
I've even looked aside to see where is Mungai. Then I just saw our camera lady and gentleman, and I was asking,
What is that?
Anyway, how are you?
Fantastic, man. How was the weekend?
Very well.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was just listening to watu wa chini, as my friend Ruto says it. Watu wa ground.
Watu wa ground.
And watu wa ground are not happy. But the fact is, as Savula said it yesterday, waumie kipole. We told them. The stupid Uhuru Kenyatta said it. I say stupid because he was stupid. Yeah. The stupid Uhuru Kenyatta said it. The stupid Uhuru Kenyatta even talked in his own mother tongue. Wacha waumie kipole.
I like the part where you asked them whether saizi kula mtu hata kula
50 hapa. Then nikikamata said hapa hakuna. Haya basi umieni kipole. Tuliwaambia msiende kwa Ruto, mkasema namna gani? Tunaenda huko kwa Ruto, ndio tunaenda. Na tuliwakataza kusikia, sasa ndio hii. And actually right now it is us to tell them, me now plus others. Yes, waumie kipole. They are talking to a government that will not listen. A government is a social structure. Economy comes later. It is a social structure. A government is a big unit, but the small government is a family government. A house that you come from, brother. And if you're married, the house that you lead, that is your government. It's more about social. If you have no communication with your community, or your house, you're like a small community, then you will fail. This government is not communicating to anyone. They are communicating to themselves. And that's why it was said, a government of the people, by the people, for the people. That is English. It's not personal government. It is a people's government. And the people told you, did you ask them that subsidy should be removed? I want to tell you how a government failed on RUTO. When Uhuru Kenyatta was being pushed by IMF to change the direction of taxation in Kenya, Uhuru refused. And when the push came to real push, Uhuru reduced 16% to 8%. And noise was made. One Musalia Mudavadi said, even 1% is going to make Kenyans die of hunger, poverty, and all that. Do you know why petrol is high? Very easy. We doubled 8% to 16% kwani petrol was going to stay there. Hata maji ya kukunywa imepanda bei. Secondly, after doubling that, we went and did a quasi-fake agreement with some Arab country that will buy their oil at Kenyan shillings. Me, have never seen a funny issue like that. I've traveled around the world. Mungu amenibariki kidogo. Nishaipanda kandege nikazunguka. And I realized you cannot do a Kenyan shilling, even doing a shopping in Mr. Price in South Africa. Do you know there is Mr. Price in South Africa? Yes. I was privileged to buy some t-shirts for my brothers at Mr. Price in South Africa. And when I was leaving Kenya, I had to change my Kenya shillings to dollar. And when I entered South Africa, I had to go to Nedbank and changed my dollars to Kenya to rands. So that I can buy. The more I changed, the more I lost. So Kenya shillings lost as I was keeping changing. You understand? And when I came back to the country, I had to change my rands to Kenya shillings. Actually, you can change a rand to Kenya shilling in Kenya directly. But you cannot change a Kenya shilling to rand in South Africa directly. because it's not even recognized there. Yes, Kenya shilling lazima ununue dola ndio ukue na rand, lakini rand ukikuja nao hapa unaweza change directly. So rand doesn't lose as much as Kenya shilling will lose. So we are buying oil in Arab country, I've forgotten the name, UAE or whatever. So you are changing your Kenya shilling to dollar, then changing the dollar to what do they call this? Their money. I've forgotten their. Yes. It's a name. Yes. It's a name that is used the whole of Middle East. Brunei use it, Kuwait dinar. Yeah. It depends how dinar, yeah, the strength of dinar, but the whole of that region they use dinar. Yes. Saudi Arabia dinar, everywhere is dinar. So when you change to dinari, your dinari, your Kenya shilling will lose. So how many billions of Kenya shilling did we lose when buying oil? Hapo ndio sasa shida iko. Because now when we realize we are losing further, we had to stop the contract. And when you do a contract, you know, you sign so many, even the bonds. So when you skip a contract, lazima utalipia bonds zenye ulikuwa umefanya. So lazima tuwe disciplined. So si tulikata contract before ishe. So lazima bado tulipe. That's why a contract is binding. Wezi sema ati contract ya barabara ilitengenezwa, then president mwingine akikuja anasema hiyo barabara itaundwa, tutailipia tu. That's why Aror Kamwerer still we paid, even if hata kuna mtu alichimba hivi na mkono, but still we paid the Italians the billions because it was a contract. So we lost. So here we've lost on oil. Na lazima ingepanda. So one, tumepandisha bei by bad contract. Two, influences of IMF. Okay? Then sasa hiyo 16% hata sasa ijapanda, inaenda kuwa 18. So hiyo 16% ya oil, hebu ongeza 2% saa hii, ujue sasa itapanda in January, because this is going to pass anyway in appropriation bills zenye zinakuja. So in January kuna ka oil kanapanda ka 2% juu.
It's going to be 18% now.
Yeah.
On top of
exactly of what we have.
Top of what we have.
Yes.
And Moses Kuria did.
And I'm telling Kenyans, you wait, there is another 2.75% in NHIF inakam. Hii mwezi si ingine ni hii. Yes. And you see this oil thing has not even hit us nicely, bado. Our supermarket is going to change numbers. Kama unga ilikuwa inatoka 10 bob inaenda kuwa 15. Inaenda kuchange.
Of course they have to, isn't it?
No, they have to, because now the production has started. Yenye inatumika sahi ni ile production ilikuwa. Wacha ungoje shelf
they gotta factor in transportation costs.
Yes, yes. Yeah. And December holiday is coming here, and January is coming here, school fee. I'm telling you, there will be no holiday. Christmas unakaa nyumbani. Tafuta mrenda, siaga unga, ugali, January ifike peleka mtoto shule. There is no holiday in Kenya. And there will be no holiday because what happens is, when you start well, it ends well. When it starts rough, it ends rougher. So the way it started, don't think at the third, they are lying to Kenyans. Ati we'll stabilize, we are stabilizing. This is Uhuru Kenyatta's issues and yalituachia maubaya. You know the way they lie. Then now Uhuru Kenyatta hizo vitu alituachia mbaya, now we'll stabilize and now things will start coming down. Brother, in August last year, the crude oil prices were at 111, 110 a barrel. That is $1. Right now, the crude oil prices are at 74, 77 barrel. That is July, August. Okay, because we're in September. We've not done the September one. Okay? At that time, Uhuru left Kenya at 135, 34 a liter fuel. Right now, at 77, let me put it $77 a barrel. Yes. We are doing 211. Oh, do you know why we go to the petrol and not diesel? Because the poor people use petrol. Wewe unaendesha V8 Those are diesel vehicles. Very few V8s are petrol.
Yeah.
They are diesel. Any big car, most of these big cars are diesel. And it is cheaper. So this thing has even, Mama Mboga has even been turned like this. The kerosene has gone up at 33 point something percent.
Does it?
I mean Kenya shillings.
Kenya shillings.
Yes. So Mama Mboga anasafa. Kwanza that is the poorest person. Yake imepanda juu. The poorest. Then the rich man, the kawaida people, me and you who drive very small vehicles, yetu imepanda kidogo ya katikati. But ndio 211. Then the rich man yake imepanda kidogo zaidi. Ndiye amebaki yake ni 200 hapa chini. So the rich man diesel, when you're using 211, that rich man is putting in his vehicle 200 shillings. So umemchapa na 11 bob. Because when do you use diesel? Tell me, bro, it's you I'm looking at. Where and when do you use diesel?
No, I don't use it.
You don't use it?
I don't use it.
Because you'll never use it unless you have good money.
Does it?
Yes. Diesel is not for people like me and you. Pana. Diesel ni watu wananyonga pesa vizuri. Watu wana magari kubwa, watu wana mamashini. You don't own a company to diesel power machines. Watu wa pikipiki wana use petrol.
Actually, all those engines
are
combustion engines.
Yes, petrol. Yeah. So hao ndo wanaumia. Na hao ndio watu wa motorbike walikuwa wanatetewa. Ndio sasa petrol imepanda vibaya sana. The rich people are using diesel are not feeling it as much. And you see, they're not feeling it, and you see, they are employed by the government, most of these guys who are doing very well. So gari yake, minister, gari yake inafueliwa na government. So hasikii chochote. That's why our friend Moses can talk the way he's talking.
Does it?
Because he doesn't feel the pinch.
But when we look, that's exactly what I wanted to get into, and it's a good thing that I've seen John then walk into the studio this morning. When you look at the utterances of Moses Kuria, that's where we begin. Fine, we're going to talk about the cost of living and exactly where they've gotten it wrong in as much as addressing this particular issue is concerned. Now, you see, the thing is, it is the guys who are placed at these strategic positions to defend the government on their strategies and their policies at this time when every Kenyan is asking them questions. Let me begin with Moses Kuria. And I don't want to begin with what he said this week, just a couple of days ago, 2 days ago. I want to take him back to last week when he appeared at Citizen Television right here and got questioned on the cost of cooking fuel in the country. Ragalo, you like to imagine that for a man who is helping the president communicate the agenda, helping the president convince Kenyans that they're working on strategies to bring down the cost of living, at least he would be quite keen on these particular issues, on the cost of cooking oil in the country. For a man, again, who's been embroiled in a scandal of edible oils in the country, at least he would know what a liter or 2 liters or 5 liters essentially costs. Got it completely wrong, Ragalo, not even by 20 shillings, a whopping 100 plus. You get it? Then we come back to the sentiments that he had this weekend. And it's not him alone. David India as well. He's a man who you're wondering, are you in support or essentially completely out of this government? Why do we have these utterances from key leaders within the government? And that's what Gachagua is saying this morning. Ship in or ship out.
I'm telling you, before I come to Moses,
yes,
I want to start with Churchill.
Churchill
told us the problem is globally in his tweet, that it's oil prices and IMF. On IMF side, I support him. He got it right.
Yes.
But in oil prices, I didn't understand how Churchill will not know that the oil prices have gone down, far more down than it has ever been.
Yeah.
And oil prices cannot be affecting us. If at all it was affecting us, the oil prices should be coming down. Remember the Uhuru time when the oil prices came down, mafuta ilipungua na 10 bob. Simtetei na ni ukweli, mafuta ilipungua na 10 bob, ingine na 5 bob. Wakati ingine ikapungua na 5 bob. And we could all see that.
Yeah.
Hii imeteremuka na 77 barrel a dollar. $77 in a barrel. Vis-a-vis Uhuru time when it was $110 in a barrel. Why mbona ijapungua? Factors that affect oil prices. One, taxation in the country. These people should not tell us at a global. It is local. You tax that at 16% in the oil, we will have to take the burden of it. So don't tell us many stories. We went to school. We may be stupid in management as a country because we were never elected,
yes,
but we are smart to understand what you guys are doing.
Yes.
From there, I'll come to David Ndii. David Ndii, when he talks, I see the president talking. Because who is he in the government? He's the economic advisor to the president.
When you look at
him and Adan Mohammed.
Yes. When you look at that statement, but you might be questioned, Ragalo. This is what he says, that you guys, RUTO told you that the cost of living was going to come down, and you believed it.
So RUTO is telling me, bado mnaniamini?
Do you think RUTO would allow David Ndii to speak like that?
But who is David Ndii? He's an advisor. To who? To RUTO.
Is that?
So
yes,
he's the chairman of economy, whatever advisory committee. So if David Ndii is telling us this, then who is talking? He is the government. What else is the government?
Should the question not be, why are you allowing to speak like that? It's not the very first time he's speaking like that.
Government has people who are sent to speak.
Yes.
You remember Kitambo, when things were thick, there were people who were always able to speak out. They will get backlashes, but still they will be surviving. They will never went anywhere. I want to take you back to Moi's time. There was someone called Makto, Barngetun. Then there was this guy with big shingo, alikuwa anaitwa Oloitiptip.
Yes.
Those guys will say anything. Anything. Mutapiga kelele, but imesemwa, itaenda. So you'll be dealing with him, and government is securing other things. So it is tuondole hii mind huku, tutoe hii mind, leteni mind ya 40 million, 50 million people this side, mimi nifanya hii. Who is the mcheshi in Ruto's government? You remember mcheshi?
Does it?
It is Moses.
Yes.
Moses ndiye mcheshi. You may think he's stupid, but Moses is saying what the government want you to hear.
Is it true?
Because when Moses hit Aga Khan,
yes,
what happened?
Absolutely nothing.
He was backed by the state.
That's it.
When Moses hit Mama, when he said he's going to poop in Mama's compound, Mama Ngina, what happened? Security of Mama Ngina was withdrawn. When Moses talked funny and badly about Raila, and he said something to do with Raila's sleep,
yes,
what happened? The security were withdrawn.
Who's Gachagua?
So who are making noise? We are the people who are making noise. Moses unaingilia baba nini nini nini. Nothing happened to Moses.
Who is Gachagua telling to ship out?
It is the government trying to adjust the anomaly that has happened through them, what you call mpiaro, over talking, talking funny.
No,
okay,
yes.
But Gachagua may not be sincere.
Knowing Gachagua, who is he telling you can't speak like that?
Because RUTO cannot speak. It's Gachagua trying to balance, but is he really honest?
He's not called out any name. Once we come from this place, I'll be telling you who called out a name. But Gachagua hasn't said, you and you stop.
But you could
like
see who he was being spoken about or spoken to.
Yeah.
But is he honest? Will RUTO remove Moses? No. Because Moses is the only person who can handle Raila. Moses is the only person who can speak anything. Moses is the only person who can handle Mama Ngina. Moses is the only person who can handle Aga Khan against the nation, newspaper and TV. I mean, have you forgotten these things? Moses is the only person who can talk. And you guys will make noise, but the government will move. Right now, Moses is actually taking your mind away from the problems that you're having to start handle Moses while the government is doing their thing. Actually, Moses will take you away for 2 weeks, then things will stabilize. And then another story will come, will make noise, then Moses again will take you away, then the story stabilizes. So Moses is just taking care of us. Yani ni kutupanga, anatupanga. Hapa ni ile wanasemanga minyonyo. Ni minyonyo hii, there is nothing Moses is saying. The reality is, we are going to have a problem. And the reality is Musa is telling you mafuta itapanda hata January, February, which is true because that 18% is going to affect mafuta. He's not saying a lies. So to me, I'm taking him honestly and seriously. Musa is saying the real language. Kama uko na mafuta yako, hata mimi Eric nasema enda uchimbe mafuta yako iwe cheaper.
Here's the thing, Eric, I want us to take a tiny breather. Once we come back, then we'll start that conversation. It's a good thing that Wana John Wangonyo is in the studio, so now we can gauge and see exactly, is it
Labda tunamngojea hapa, tuna waste 20 minutes.
Labda alikuwa anachimba mafuta imeleta studio.
By the way,
anaweza kuwa alikuwa anachimba
kule Maragwa.
Once we come,
badala ya kuchimba ngwashe.
Guess when we come back.
Realize your home ownership dream by investing in Brookvale Tuala, a magnificent prime residential property located in Ongata Rongai. Brookvale Tuala by Safaricom Investment Cooperative overlooks the majestic Ngong Hills and lies only 24 kilometers from Nairobi CBD. The project boasts of well-serviced plots with a perimeter wall, graded roads and a borehole. 50 by 100 plots are going for 1.4 million shillings with a flexible payment plan of up to 6 months. To book your plot, call 0729 121212 today. Safaricom Investment Cooperative, the investment partner of choice.
Jamaa jo, mazena inflation jo na hii mafuta venye mepanda jo, mmefika at the right time. Mimi nakwambia wachezaji saa hizi tu ni kutoka hapa, kuingia mtaa, kutengeneza sima, wadishifiti, alafu tutane grau.
Leo tuko katika center inaitwa Kimta, ambapo hapa ni sehemu ambapo wanafunzi ama vijana wadogo wanakuja hapa kusoma, wanakuja hapa kukuza talanta yao, na wanakuja pia kujiinua kielimu.
Now through Kimta and the groups like Tatua Tatu, through pads, wasichana wataendelea kuendea shule vizuri, at the same time watakuwa healthy.
Yote ni kwa hisani ya Tatua Foundation. Na wakati wote ambapo unacheza Tatua Tatu, kumbuka kwamba 25% inakuja kusaidia masuala kama haya. Kwa hivyo endelea kucheza Tatua Tatu.
Are you an SME looking for a media partner? Look no more, as Lookuptv got you covered for all your visibility and marketing needs. We at Lookuptv understand your business needs and want to work with you on your marketing journey, giving you solutions that will take you to the next level. Call us today on 0707 572 358 or send an email to sales@lookuptv.co.ke and kickstart this amazing journey. Welcome to Lookuptv, your official SME media partner.
The story we're telling today is a story of passion in practice that grows into business.
We have partnered with the Youth Fund, talk to as many youth as possible and work with them, hold their hand.
It is an expose of captains who have decided to take on challenges in different sectors and industries within the country.
My mentors had also not started as CEOs. They grew up and they showed me how they grew in the organizations. So that's what motivated me to actually do international business. And it was a good experience.
As an individual, support in bridging that care gap, part of me also to offer a solution. I want to leave this world a better place than I found it.
This is the Captain's Arena. My name is Simba Kiage.
Welcome back. Conversations are ongoing, even when we're not on air. It's a good thing that John is with us right here this morning. John, how are you doing, sir?
I'm fine, thank you, sir. How are you?
Fantastic. Eric alisema ni kama ulienda kutafuta mafuta yako ndio ufike studio. I don't know whether you're successful at mining.
I'm actually tempted.
Oh, that?
I'm actually tempted because the way things are going.
Anyway, now we're talking about exactly the way this government is trying to essentially tell Kenyans what policies they're trying to come up around the cost of living. But what has gotten Kenyans talking is not just how the government is running their affairs, is how the people within the government are talking about the strategies. Now, Moses Kuria is a man who has got a lot of Kenyans talking and wondering whether this government is empathizing. They're not sympathizing, no, empathizing with the state of the cost of living in the country. Now, this weekend, Poniga Loale was one of those men who said, I belong to this government, but the way some leaders are speaking in this government, I am asking the president to fire them. Let them go home, or else I leave this party. And he said that he was elected to represent the views of the poor people in this country. And from the way Moses Kuria is speaking, it is not good. Let's take a look at that particular clip. Once we come back, then start off with John and look into more issues this morning.
Haileti pesa vile tumeleta, makosa imekuwa ya kiranja Dr. Boni. RUTO, Mheshimiwa Rais, I want to tell you today from Kakamega. Watu wenye umepatia kazi wamekuingia kwa mbaya sana. Mtu ambaye anaitwa Minister for Trade, mtu ambaye anaitwa Waziri wa Energy, na mtu ambaye anaitwa your economic advisors, lazima watuambie sisi wa Kenya what did they mean loba mola pakulanga makure from government to government, then things are worse. You sack these people when they pay Yamakura, you can say, I was elected in this country of Kenya to serve the poor. I don't care whether the rich people find petrol rich expensive, but I care. President Ruto, sack these people, otherwise serikali yako sasa hata small function like this inaanza kukaa kama iko na sura.
That's it, not mincing words at all, saying, well, those two people, economic advisor and CS, trade, sack them. What are they doing, John? And this is what has got Bonigalole speaking like that. David Ndii is big on social media. When he saw a lot of Kenyans talking about how the government had gone and drained into their pockets in terms of taxation, the cost of people, the cost of living in this country, he asked them one question. So you agree that Dr. RUTO told you that the cost of living was going to come down within 1 year, and you believed him? Why?
Good morning, Simba. Good morning, Ragalo. Yes, we're in very, very interesting times. And as far as the government is concerned, or all these things that are going on,
yes,
allow me to use the analogy I used here last time about a patient going to see a doctor, and they have either a toothache or you're at home, you're having a headache, and you look for painkillers and you expect instant relief. So we are in a situation where we're coming from the back of high cost of living, unemployment, businesses struggling, and so on and so forth. So there's so many things coming at Kenyans,
yes,
that are causing quite the pain. So, and from what we know is that we expect to take medicine and get better soonest, if not immediately. But we know sometimes it doesn't work like that. We know that things take time to work themselves out, or for the medicine to work. So we're in that situation, and the people are really struggling with so many things, bills, life, fees, jobs, businesses, and so on and so forth. So that is on one hand from our perspective.
Yes.
From the government side,
yes,
we're coming from the back of the public finances are not in good shape. We know that that problem has been festering for quite a number of years. And Waswahili wanasema siri ya deni ni kulipa. We took the debts. We had a really good time. It was a good run. We enjoyed ourselves. Yes. We got amazing infrastructure that ordinarily we would not have got. But now it's payback time. So that is where the crux of the matter is that unfortunately, given the public debts we've accumulated, yes, unfortunately, we have to pay them back. So I've seen an interesting conversation on social media as to what we should do about those debts. Some of those debts, are they odious debt? There's a concept in international relations about odious debt, which is basically the idea that some of these loans were taken and then they were not used in the right way. So some of it was stolen, some of it was put into people's pockets and so on and so forth. So the question is, should we continue paying for them? Because the truth of the matter is, I was seeing some government figures from the Treasury that we're spending around 220 billion every month to run the country, to pay salaries and everything else. 220 billion a month. But out of this 220 billion a month, 120 billion goes to paying debt. Far much outweighs or outnumbers everything else that we do. Yes. And that is a sad reality that we are in. Yes. So on the one hand, government must collect the revenue, must tax us, because they must honor their obligations. Yes. But now the conversation that we should be having as Kenyans, as much as we are angry because of what is going on in terms of course, the reality of life, is that perhaps it's time we moved the conversation away from what is happening, because whether we like it or not, tax and death, we know, are the only two sure things in life. So we have to pay taxes, and at some point we will all sort of at our own time die. Yes. So tax we must pay to take care of our debt, to pay for our debts. But at the same time, how do we do it so that we help mitigate the pain that Kenyans are going through? And that is why now we are taking it out on each other. So you've got the CS, sort of in those instances where we're expecting probably somebody high up in the government to say, it shall be well, usijali Mungu mbele. We have the same guys now telling us, you know what, you ate all this money, it's time to pay back. And that is where now the problem is. So we are all sort of coming at each other. Yeah. Stressed out because, of course, life is expensive and so on and so forth. And government is in this situation where there is no two ways about it. Siri ya deni ni kulipa. Government must pay. And some of the things that you would put in place to help people ameliorate the pain, yes, include things like subsidies, but we can't afford. Subsidies is debt. Yes? So what do we do? Yes. And that is the situation that we find ourselves in.
John, just before crossover to Regalo, there's a question that we really need to ask ourselves, because even as we sit here today, we do know that Parliament essentially stopped the country from auditing its debt. It's National House that did that. So knowing very well that somebody somewhere doesn't really want to know the true value and the true use of our debt in this country. That's one. So how do you turn around and tell Kenyans that, oh, you know, we're trying to pay debt, the previous government is essentially the one that put you in this trouble, but when somebody says, okay, fine, let's sit down and audit our debt, know exactly who we are paying, why we are paying, and the use of this debt that comes into this country. This particular government is saying, we don't want that, just leave that one alone. Let's keep on paying debt. Yeah. Why? It's two-faced. That's why majority of us who understand this issue are angry. So all of a sudden, when you don't want to audit this debt, you come at me with 16% VAT on fuel, and you're telling me, look here, even this general aspect of VAT, in fact, from 2024, the way things are going, and we do know it's going to pass, they have the majority. Yes, we need to add it by 2%. Yes. Now we're talking about 18% VAT. Yes. Why? Why can't you make it straight?
The thing is this, we have to remember that as Kenyans we're very, also sort of, our politicians are very interesting.
Yes.
The big thing that is going on with the debt question is it's more or less to do with the supremacy battle between Senate and the National Assembly.
Yes.
because the National Assembly wants to assume that issues around the debt is purely under their ambit, that nobody else can look into that matter.
Yes,
so it's more of a tough war than anything else.
Yes.
But what I'm saying is that we as Kenyans must force that conversation. We
Yes.
must be told how much all this, in what ways that money was used. And that is a conversation that we must force onto the table, because in terms of paying taxes, we will pay taxes.
Yes.
In terms of taxes going up, will go up. Another interesting figure that Kenyans might not know is that actually revenues are up.
Yes.
Yes. So actually KRA has collected more over the last 2 months in this new financial year.
Does it?
By almost 40 billion over the previous 2 months in the last year. So as we make all this noise, stuff seems to be going on underground, or chini ya maji.
Yeah, but on the back, John, that is on the back. That's on the back of increased tax bans across the country.
Yes.
That was expected, isn't
Yes,
it?
yes.
Yeah.
See, that's why I'm saying that we will continue collecting taxes.
Yes.
That the government will continue collecting taxes. What we should be pushing for is a conversation about how our money is being spent.
Does it?
Yes.
Does it?
Rather than,
Yes.
because the train has already left the station. In terms of housing fund, it's been implemented now for 2 months, 3 months. So there is nothing much we can do about that. But what we can do more about accountability with regard to how our money is being spent.
Ragalo,
Yes.
when the president comes back, and I don't know what reception he's going to get, is in the US really trying to negotiate deals for the country, which is good. But back here, things are not essentially going on the way they should. You have a deputy president who's telling CSs in his government to shut up, that you can't you either ship in or ship out. And case in point, Moses Kuria has been on note, by the way, and even you and I looking at him is a man who goes to national television, is asked about the cost of cooking fuel in the country, he doesn't know completely. So even as a DP, when you're looking at that man, and you look at that statement, that some of you speak in a way that you cannot be able to defend the progress that this country is making, or this government is making. It's them shipping or ship out. So the president is coming back. You have Kenyans who are retaliating heavily about the cost of living in the country. You have infighting within your government, all right, where essentially members of the government are feeling that some of us here are not essentially speaking in the same tone the way we should in this government. Where is it going to start from?
He's going to start from nowhere. You expect him to sack Moses? That is shooting himself on the foot.
Why?
Because he will want votes in 2022, 27.
But Moses has angered not just...
Moses has not angered anyone.
Are you sure, Ragalo?
It is a diversionary attempt.
Were you not angry about what Moses Kuria said?
I wasn't. I saw a government trying to divert attention, that we deal with Moses and forget any other problem they're having about the fuel prices.
Ragalo, can I read for you that statement?
I know it.
Can I read for you that statement?
I know it. I know the statement. I read it. It was too long. It was a whole...
This is quite long.
A whole like paragraph of letters.
But he said that you complaining about the cost of fuel in this country is not going to help you. He's saying you sitting on Twitter asking the government to give you a solution about the cost of living in this country, it's not going to help you.
Yes.
He's telling you, kama unasikia mbaya enda uchimbe kisima yako bana.
Exactly. And he didn't tweet it. Actually, he said it somewhere.
Verbatim, yes.
Verbatimly.
Yeah.
And can I tell you, Moses was doing it for us to react.
Come on, Ragalo.
And Moses is... I'll give you another example. Let me ask you, what did Maina Njenga do to be taken in? Of course, the government should be telling us Maina is in because Maina did this.
Yes.
Is it not to divert attention so that we start dealing with where is Maina?
Yes.
Where was he taken? We forget our problems. I am not going to buy Maina being abducted. He's just somewhere taken. I'm not going to buy Moses' story. It is a diversionary tactic. So let's concentrate, guys, that we are being overtaxed.
Are you going to buy the story, though, that Moses Kuria doesn't even know what a liter of cooking oil costs in the country?
He may not know. He may not know. He may not know. Why? You may be very rich one day, and things just happen in your house. Plus, things just happen. You know, there are people in this country that things just happen. You know, there are people who don't build houses; they move in. You will build, bro. Me, I will build. I'll buy cement. Kamoja kanaletwa na baiskeli, kanacheza mpaka hapa na you will know. Ka cement kakipanda unajua kamepanda. Mi hata chuma ilikuwa inapanda na 10 bob, najua chuma imepanda na 10 bob. Nastuka. When I was building, my chuma was going for 470.
Yep.
Ile ndogo kabisa 10 ilikuwa inaenda sijui 1100. Sasa hizi imepanda. Sasa hizi sijui, but I would know. Hiyo gauge 10. Gauge 12 ilikuwa inapiga 1014. 1,400. I would know because I was building, but you would not know. There are people who move in.
How would he not know? What is he trying to work around for in this
country? Do you know
country?
there are people who don't even know the price of water, the cheapest thing in your house?
Fine.
There are people who don't. Moses who don't know.
Fine.
Uhuru knew the prices of mkate.
I would not expect the president to know.
No,
I mean,
he wasn't a president then. He wasn't a president. He was campaigning. Uhuru was in Kameme.
Yes.
And he was asked the price of mkate. The guy said 500 sok.
Yes.
To him, that was the lowest denominator that he could say. So 500. I mean, I was like, So if that one, Uhuru was not even a president and he said 5 sok, I'm not surprised.
And that is more than 10 years ago.
And that is more than 10 years ago.
Yes.
So, bro, yes. Do you know why I'm not surprised?
Yes.
That is why people are proud. When you see pride in people, depends on the value of their life. If you can reach a point where now, ukisikia tu ana complain, unashanga, ai, we unapiga kelele ati ya nini? Toeni upuzi hapa. You know? Because you don't understand, because you are not living there. So Moses akiongea hivyo, amefika ile pinnacle. So he can actually ask himself, ati hao wanasema wanapiga kelele juu ya prices. Atapiga kelele because mafuta taa hanunui. Gari yake inakuwa fueled. Driver wake halipi mshahara. Bodyguard wake wanalipiwa. You know, he's an office himself. To an extent now, hata watoto wa shule, those are people hata watoto wao wa shule wanalipiwa na serikali. You know, some of these people are done like that. No wonder the kids are international school here where it's 1.4 million a month at a semester. I mean, not a semester, a term.
Yes. Would you be surprised if C.S. Machogu would tell you that he doesn't know how much it costs for a student to pay per term in this country in a public university?
Trust me, he may not know. Some of these people, while they go to talk, they are advised. Prices, so he comes talking what he's been told. Some of these people don't know.
If you are working to reduce the cost of living, and your docket essentially has also been sort of embroiled in a scandal about all the edible oils in this country, and you've been quite specific, talking vehemently about it.
About the prices of
oil and sugar in this country and all that. And then you stand around and then you ask, okay, how much is a liter? Then you say, I do not know. Shouldn't you be fired?
Yes, because you are told to say, and it's not what you knew. You know what you know, you know. What you're told to say right now, you'll forget the second minute. Bro, let me give you a good example. And this example is of the developing countries. My brother has talked very well how we've come from a situation that was difficult. We are coming up.
Yes.
I'll ask myself, South Africa is the nearest. Or let me go to Seychelles. Seychelles do have elections. Why is it that after every 5 years, Seychelles don't complain? Because their systems run. The next president who comes continues with what this person left. But do you know what happens in our country? We come with pride. We think we are better off than the former. The only person who did well was Kibaki. When he came in, our system were low. Money system. Nothing was running. So he came, put a benchmark up to here. So the one who was supposed to come was to come on top and run with the benchmark that he had left. Uhuru tried. Of course, he has his mistakes. The person who came after Uhuru would have said, this is the benchmark where Uhuru has left us. We have non-constructed roads of this much. We will continue. When you came and started fighting what the other person have done and cutting what the other person have done, if I was RUTO, I would not have cut subsidy immediately. You don't do that to an economy. he would have run with it for around 6 months to 1 year and then come out of it seamlessly. Hatutaki subsidy, kazi kwa vijana hatutaki. Si wape kazi sahi. Our economy is doing this, now wape kazi tuone. I'm saying tuone because you cannot. Yeah. Because you will not be able to even pay them.
Yeah.
So he would have run with it pole pole. As you roll out as you fix something. Yeah. You don't cut. That is pride and showing that you're brighter than thou. And kumbe thou knew much better than you. You could have run with it pole pole, then build on it. That's why Kibaki didn't sack the lady secretary. She was called who? Former minister for former this lady Kosgei Sally. Mm-hmm. She didn't leave immediately. She actually worked with Kibaki for some time. Everything was rolling mos. Then you could see changes. But here you come, you want to cut everything out. Anything that was RUTO, go. To an extent, you couldn't work with the police, DCI. You removed him immediately. You work with him, pole pole, as in you prepare him to get out. You don't remove him the way he was removed. I've never seen a system that worked like Kenyan system. And that's why in America, when an election is done, you will never hear America, oh, economy has gone down because, apana. And it is a big system. If it goes down 1%, everyone gets a sneeze, even Kenya. So it has to be seamless so that we don't lose this money. Yes. You know, any changes in the government that are thorough and instant dips the shilling. Yeah. We know that, but we still don't want to do it. So what has happened? This is what has happened. My friend has said we came out from a bad situation. We were not. We were not in a bad situation. We were doing well. But if someone did a mistake, work to revise it. Don't remove it. See, hesabu unatoa 1 minus 1 equals to 1. I'm not one to say 0 because there's no number called 0. Yeah. Okay? You cannot have a 0. That's what we did. So here Uhuru ilikuwa ambaye ni 1, we minus 1 tukaweka 0. So hao vijana walitoka kwa wapi? So you didn't give them. You say that umewapatia pesa ya kuchukua deni. I'd rather they had worked uwalipe pole pole. This is where the government lost. And now when they say economy is bad, economy is not bad because ati money. Economy is bad because hao vijana hata kama walikuwa wanafanya kazi wewe hutaki, ungeacha kwanza wapate tu pesa waendeleze economy than cutting them out. When you cut them out, that economy is gone bad. So I don't understand the issue of story of economy, yes, whereas the government is the one that has made economy go bad. It is not Uhuru who made the economy go bad. Uhuru tried to assist us. If Uhuru had given us 16%, tell me, because he was being pressured by IMF. We made a lot of noise on this set and many other sets that Uhuru anapandisha nini, Uhuru is insensitive. Akatupatia 8%, lakini tuliongea. Now, we have income tax of Uganda is 40%. Aya. The VAT tax of Uganda is 18%. Mm-hmm. Then the corporate tax of Uganda is 30%. Ya Tanzania income tax is 30. Income tax is 30, 18% VAT and 30% corporate. Kenya, income tax ni 30, VAT ni 16, corporate ni 30. We are low taxed in East Africa. In fact, Uganda is highly taxed than us. Are they complaining? They would say Uganda wako wachache kutuliko, kwani how many millions tumeachana na Uganda? Why are they not complaining? At least you go to Uganda, which you have, yes, endo ununue chakula ya 200 uone. Chakula ya kukula ya 200, utadhani umeletewa chakula watu watatu. Bro, you've been to Uganda? You know what I'm saying?
Yes,
it is
I
true.
agree with you on that one.
Why are they not complaining? Because the normal things that a Ugandan need can be afforded. That's why you can go buy a car in Uganda. Pro box right now is 1.12 million. Probox was 700,000. What has happened in 10 months to Probox?
It's actually true.
Now tell me what has happened. Kwani Probox imekuwa Mercedes? In 10 months. So, in Tanzania, they are beating us on VAT at 18%. But we are still going there to ask them for dollars. Watupatie dola kidogo tufanye nayo kazi tutawarudishia. Walitunyima. Why are they not complaining? Because they have stabilized their systems. Kenya, we are lowly taxed, but we destabilized our systems. That's why we are complaining. We are not complaining that being highly taxed is bad. No! Tax me, peleka pesa kwa shule, which they are not doing. Headmasters are complaining. Okay? Tax me, peleka madawa kwa hospitali. Tax me, make sure naweza pata mafuta kwa bei rahisi. Why are we lowly taxed? Mafuta yetu iko juu kuliko ya Tanzania na kuliko ya Uganda. Then someone niliona mtu ameweka chart ati mafuta ya Uganda ni expensive kuliko ya Kenya. Fanya hesabu ya pesa ya Uganda, convert it, then utoe zile losses wakati una convert, then uangalie. So we are lowly taxed. It's our, but now 18% is coming from January. So that 18%, will it change the cost of living? No. Actually, mafuta sasa ndio itaruka tena because of that 2%. People are saying, you tax us, make it available. You tax us, make it affordable, not cheap. Nobody wants cheap things. Utuaje kudanganya wa Kenya. Make it affordable. How? Make my pocket have money so that I can afford to buy it. Remove counterfeit. Let me buy an original TV, yeita nisumbua, iharibike. Remove counterfeit. So, as you tax people, what rebates are you giving them? You're giving them nothing. Tax me highly, remove mtumba, unipatie nguo za kuvaa mzuri. Because why would I wear mtumba na unapea chukua pesa yote? Then huwa mtumba apate kitu ya kufanya yenye itajenga nchi. Bring us to the level of other countries. There's no mtumba in Seychelles, bwana. Tusidanganyane bwana. There's no mtumba in South Africa. And if there is mtumba, unaendanga Mr. Price, unakuta kuna season imechange. Hizo zilikuwa za summer, zinaekwa hapa because season hiyo. So inauzangwa 50% off. Hiyo ndio mtumba. Na inaekangwa kwa kisengenge zinamwagwa hapo. You go abroad, that's what they do. Na hiyo ndio tunaitanga mtumba anyway, ukiwa huyo majuu. Lakini ukiwa Kenya, mtumba ni mtumba halisi, mpaka inanuka mtumba. Because is that kamarashi they give it. That hata ukivaa mtu utajua tu umevaa mtumba. So the question is, mbona Njoroge haezi afford kanywaji kake wakati ametaksiwa? Mbona usilete chang'aa uibru vizuri tuipatie jina? Uganda wako na waragi, ni chang'aa tu. Mbona useme chang'aa ni mbaya? Na that fractional distillation, that distillation of that chang'aa, yes, that person is using science. Why don't you make it better? You brand it, you give it to us. Every community have their kanywaji. If you want to do social, do social. Chukua ile kitu inaitwa uji. Yes. Ilikuwa inaitwa ni ya Western. Busa. Pack it. Uzia mimi busa kwa bar. Enda Mombasa, pack ile inaitwa nini? Mnazi. Chang'aa, iandike tu hapo chang'aa, because you should not change their name. It's a brand name. But iwe industrial made chang'aa. Yes. Because there's no difference between chang'aa na Famous Gross. Hakuna difference ya chang'aa hata sijui jina. Na Bond 7, whatever it is. Yes. So what is chang'aa and the others? What is the difference?
I want to go for a tiny.
And if you do that, and if you do that, bro, if you do that, do you know what will happen to the people down there? Affordability.
Let's go.
They will be able to afford those small things we are talking about because their chang'aa is being brewed nicely.
I want us to go for a tiny breather. Once we come back then, Ragalo and John, is there a communication problem then? Is there a communication problem that we have leaders who just can't communicate? Look at all the things that Ragalo is explaining. So when you listen to him, he said, well, you gotta do it, just do it. But then how you communicate, is that what the problem is? And if that's the problem then, John, then fire them, because they're not communicating properly. And that's what Rigathi Gachagua is saying. Ship in, ship out. Once we come back right here on The Morning Drift.
How do women do it? Will the real superheroes please stand up? Welcome to the best show on all things women.
You can.
Now we have to tell you, on our show, we're not just talk. We're mothers, wives, working women, your host, and the list goes on. We also know how to relax and have some fun. It's living the life. Yes, it is.
Hi, and welcome to Tujenge Home. Your number one show when it comes to all things architecture, real estate, property development, interior design. You get it right here on Tujenge Home. When the food is ready.
You want to serve them?
Dinner is served. Yeah. Let's go. Let's go.
Praise the Lord and Bwana Yesu asifiwe sana. My name is Pastor Joseph. I'm from a ministry called Reconcilers World. God gives strength to the weary. I am, Jesus is speaking. He says, I am the door. Then he says, anyone who enters in through me will be saved. The Lord is my shepherd or shepherd. Then he says, I will always have everything I need. God desires to guide you. He's telling you that this day, don't just trust the Lord, but he's telling you, trust the Lord widely.
All right, welcome back. You are watching The Morning Drift. My name is Simba Kiage. So let's put it to John like this then. John, if Kenyans are angered or concerned by the sentiments of the key leaders in the Kenya Kwanza government, and whatever it is they're communicating by the end of the day is that, well, things are gonna get worse. That's the message. But then Kenyans are saying, well, we are angered by that. If it's a communication problem, why can't we just call it a communication problem? And getting leaders who are able to effectively, empathize with the situation in the country. Because empathy is not sympathy. It is saying whether we recognize the situation that we're in this together. We're going to keep on pushing. But you have gentlemen who are saying, well, we are fine. Guys, we can't do nothing about it. Just find your own solutions. If that is a problem, then why can't we have them kicked out? Just like Bonica Lola is telling the president. It's like, well, these guys are giving your government a bad image. Get them out of office.
Communication is quite broad, and there are various ways of delivering the same message.
Yeah.
The truth of the matter is that, like I said, we're in a situation where things are difficult, yes, and we have to pay those debts, whether we like it or not.
Yes.
So that means the government has to collect the taxes, whether we like it or not.
Yes.
So now, the question then becomes, how do we help Kenyans cope with the situation?
Yes.
Yes. So there are various suggestions that perhaps you look at your balance sheet. There's two components, what you're spending and what your income is. So you either increase the income or you reduce the expenditures, or you do both at the same time. But again, it's not a straight line.
Yeah.
There are other things that you must consider, because when you say you cut government expenditure, for example, you then would mean reducing the amount of money, say, that goes towards capacity building and training, for example.
Yes.
But we know that when you do the capacity building and training, apart from inputting skills into people, you also say hire halls, you spend time in a hotel, people eat, and that generates or stimulates the economy, local economy, yes? So how do we then balance the two? And that is the question that we should be addressing. I quite like what Ragalo has said. With regard to the tax, we are actually lower taxed, or the least taxed comparatively compared to our neighbors.
Yes.
For example, the VAT, we pay 16%. Over there, it's 18%.
Yes.
Actually, according to the new discussion around the medium-term expenditure framework, is to match we match them.
Mm-hmm.
You look at the corporate tax, again, it's 30. We are proposing to take it down to 25, I think.
Mm-hmm.
So, in terms of government income, or government taxing Kenyans, the truth of the matter is that they need that money to cover for expenditures. That is why I started by saying the conversation we should be having, for me, is two things. One, what have we done with that money, or what is happening to the money as it's being collected? Number one, for accountability.
Yes.
And then number two, I like the example he used of places where they're highly taxed. Say, for example, in the West, you pay high levels of taxes. I think even in places like Finland or Denmark, you pay up to 50% tax. Yes. But everything, most of the public services are free. School is free, healthcare is free, security, kochonjo, and so on and so forth. But here we are paying that high tax. Then we have to pay for school, we have to pay for healthcare, we have to do all these things. And that is where the problem is. So how do we have a conversation around making sure that the money we are giving to government is spent in the right way, so that it doesn't end up in the pockets of Simba and somebody else at the expense of everybody else? And that is a conversation we should be having, because as far as taxes are concerned, actually, comparatively, like he said, we are being charged less tax. That is one. And then number two, when you look at government statistics coming out of Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, perhaps to support what he was saying about Moses Kuria, is, remember, these guys are leaders, are policy leaders, and so on and so forth. They're at the top of the sort of decision-making pyramid, yes? He sits there, and he's got all these people who work under him and advise him, this is what to say, these are the options, and so on and so forth. So you're supposed to, given the facts on the table, which is the best option. And the truth of the matter is, again, if you look at Kenya National Bureau of Statistics, inflation is down. Inflation is a measure of cost of living, basically.
Yeah.
So once it's down, the government is saying, but we've done our job. Inflation is at 6.7%, which is way below the 7.5% upper ceiling of inflation.
Yes.
And that is where now it becomes interesting. That's why I'm saying, as much as this communication problem seems to appear, the truth of the matter is government seems to be working, if you look at the data that everybody else, say, for example, investors will look at. What is the rate of inflation in Kenya? If you look at, again, reiterating the issue of the KRA, actually tax revenues are up, and quite significantly. Yes? So it seems, as much as we're having this conversation about people saying this and that, the truth of the matter, for people who are looking in dispassionately, looking at the data seems to suggest that Kenya is working.
I want to support him a bit. I'll still go back to the Chang'ai issue.
Yes.
Let's go back to natural resources that we have. Natural resources. Natural resources means the shoe you are wearing, bro. Can I make it? Do you have to wear the shoe from Turkey, for example? Do I to put a belt from Italy? Do I have to wear a watch from Swiss? What is the natural resources do we have in Kenya? If we look at the natural resources, we go to academic resources that we have. Then we go to agricultural resources that we have. Forest resources, okay? Wildlife resources. All these resources we have, how do we harness them? It pains me that when you walk to Kiambu Road, you will get a stop written liquor house. I'm not fighting it. It is there, but I'm not fighting it. I just want to put an idea. When you get to that liquor house, how much of Kwal alcohol do you get there? Kwal is Kenya wine. I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
How much of that Kwal do you get there? You'll get names that you've never heard of. Because I've walked in there. I'm a titola. But I just walked in there to see pombe. I don't drink. I'm a titola, totally. But I walked there kuona, na huku ni kusupu. Na hizi pombe, na hii inatoka wapi? There were ladies there, hi, coming there, hi, we have, hi. Nikajifanya mlevi vibaya sana. Ataka ile kwanza nikipiga nayo nataka kulala 3 days bila kuamka. You see, so it's a true story.
True, yeah.
And why I wanted to see this, because one day I'll sit here and talk about it.
That's it.
Who brews that alcohol? Where does Amarula come from? South Africa. Cape Town, Eastern Cape, is a whole farm of Amarula trees. They produce Amarula, which comes here, they advertise it, looks so good. What is the environment in Eastern Cape? Is as it is in Garissa. Ni kukavu sana. Ama tuseme mwingi ukipita ukienda hivyo. Why can't we have a Amarula plant in Tana River County where it's so hot? Then we have a Amarula plant in Kitui, for example. Why can't we use our chang'aa nicely? Do we have to use wine from abroad, then we feel tumekunywa pombe mzuri, na kumbe imetengenezwa na jamaa fulani pale Kariobangi, ikaoshwa kile kichupa ikafunikwa. Wewe unadhani unakunywa Famous Grouse, unakunywa kitu fani ya Kariobangi. People have drunk it. So why can't we, if we want to, he's saying inflation is going down, fine. Then that inflation going down should be seen on the shelves. Stupid me. How? I should be able to buy, not that the prices in shelf goes down. That one should not be the case. And actually people are being lied to. Ati baada ya miaka 2 maisha itakuwa mzuri, unga itateremuka. Hatutaki unga iteremuke. Tunataka Njoro aweze kununua unga. Tunataka Eric aweze kununua ile unga. So what happens? Si ufungue mabiashara kutumia vitu watu wanaweza jitengenezea. We can look at the conversation ya ndugu yangu presidential candidate wa Roots Party ya bangi. Why not? We look at the medical part of it, which is pharmaceutical part of it, and industrial part of it. Sahi makonge imeisha, but you can have industrial hemp. Tunaweza tengeneza kamba, tunaweza tengeneza dawa, tunaweza tengeneza fertilizer. I mean, why should we have a thing like the banking?
I totally agree with him that we need to have that conversation. We need to go beyond what has been said by who and so on and so forth, to look at things or at ways to increase our productivity and the range of things that we produce locally rather than import.
And that is to mitigate economy. How do you mitigate economy? It's not bringing something from China which is cheaper, ndio TV. Na ndio kama nilisema hapa, I don't want a counterfeit TV. I'm not saying Chinese is counterfeit. People, mtu asinichukulie nimesema hivyo. I don't want something from China. Okay? What is the academic property in Kenya? People can create this TV bwana. So mimi Kenya na ni udhingi Kenya. No one want to industrialize our country, but we want to politicize our country. Bangi kisemwa Wajakoya amesema vibaya. Somebody should start thinking kama kweli you are academician. Now Kenya Wajakoya anasema, like right now, science and technology, as the ministry, have they thought what Wajakoya was saying? Has the Minister of Education and Minister of Industrialization and trade, have they talked with the president that hii kitu Wajakoya alikuwa anasema, by the way, situifikirie? The countries that make industrial hemp, are they smokers? They are not. Countries that sell a lot of wine to our country, like Netherlands, are they so much drunkards? They are not.
Yes.
They are doing very well for selling the alcohol outside. But our thing is, if someone sells changa is bad, how can a mzee of 80 years be able to brew changa? That one should tell you people are bright here. Why don't you industrialize them? That name changa is already a what? A big name. It is known worldwide. Because of wrong reasons, tumia vibaya, we should brand it nicely. It's our local name. Kiondo. It's like now telling me Kiondo is a bad thing. Yeah. We didn't brand Kiondo. Some Japanese took the name. Na sasa Kiondo is a Japanese name. But it is the same Chondo here to but they took it away. Other than using these bags, can't the government take Chondo na iseme hii ndio bagi ya Kenya? Mzungu anakujanga na document ameka kwa Kiondo na meka zip. Wewe Mkenya ukitembea na Kiondo ukiwa umeweka zip, watu wanasema haya. Kwani hawezi weka laptop kwa laptop bag? You see, akili ya kizungu imetuingia.
Yes, yes. He's saying
yes,
all
John,
the right things.
This is a question though that Kenyans are asking.
Yes.
Fine. Sell us your plan. Sell it in the best way possible. But are there things that you can touch, John? That in the process of you selling your idea, there are things that are going to completely negate what it is that you want to achieve. Case in point, the cost of fuel in this country. We are a fuel-driven economy. Today, if you change the cost of fuel, you change the cost of everything.
Everything else.
So is that the question that we should be answering? That fine, you preach your water to every part of this country. Tell us what it is that you're doing. But please, in the process of doing that, then John, please, bei ya mafuta wachana nayo, because then ukiguza tu hivi, then whatever it is that you're telling us, you just disrupted
domino
everything.
effect
We
on
don't
everything
feel it.
else.
That's
True.
it. Is that what it is?
The thing is that we have to also understand that as much as we're talking about all these brilliant ideas,
yes,
there is people who've already sort of claimed that industry to themselves. So you look at, for example, what he's saying about changa and all those traditional brews that our grandparents and people in the village make. It's a high form of distillation, isn't it? From chemistry and yes, products that can compete with the best if they're given the facilities. But you also have to remember, within the alcohol industry, there is the producers of what is traditional pombe, as in traditional brands that we know of. So they will use all manner of tactics
to block that.
Yes. Let me give you an example of back in the day, in the 90s, there was this South African brewer who tried to get into the Kenyan market. Castle Lager.
Yes. In Thika.
It was a huge beer war. Yes. The amounts of money that were expended, including litigation and so on and so forth, ran into billions. And eventually, Castle Lager, being part of the bigger, I think one of the biggest international beer brands, actually exited Kenya. So some of these things, basically, by the time you're getting in there, there is already people who have marked that as their territory. So the moment you come in, and remember, even changa was decriminalized by Kibaki. You remember them days of those two sachets were banned, and then we decriminalized the traditional brews, and we said that as long as you do it in a hygienic, clean way, we should be able to do it. But unfortunately, you end up now threatening people who are, say, importing whatever cheap alcohol from abroad. So that is what is problematic for us. Imagine what he's saying about shoes. I remember somebody, I don't know whether it's Moses Kuria himself, saying that every year we import, I think, 3 million pairs of shoes into Kenya, including around 2 million shoes for school children, imported from China, Turkey, all those places. And he was saying, imagine if we were producing only, say, 70% of those shoes. Imagine what it would mean for our hide industry, ngozi ya ng'ombe. How many people would be employed in doing that, producing the shoes? Suppliers.
How many people would do the cow production?
Yes. Suppliers for whatever plastic or and so on and so forth. The multiplier effect of that is very, very huge. The potential is there. And that is the conversation that we should be having. That how do we best help Kenyans to industrialize and to innovate? Because we know that from looking at the example of China and India, the two largest drivers and employers of industries, of employers of people, is one, construction, and then manufacturing. So the government seems to be saying the right things when it comes around to construction, yes? And the idea of building homes. Yeah. That, if it takes off, will employ a huge number of Kenyans, either directly as people, plumbers, masons, and so on and so forth, but also suppliers for furniture and so on and so forth. And then there is the industrial bit, the industrialization bit. But we know industrialization, one of the biggest expense is, of course, power. So what do we do about our power? Because like you're saying, Saizi fuel is 211. Expect an adjustment in our that fuel cost thing that is in the Kenya Power long bill. There is a fuel cost adjustment thing. Expect that to go up and then reduce the number of tokens and so on and so forth. So those are the real conversations we should be having, rather than Sijui Moses Kuria was pissed off somewhere and said Chimba Mafta.
John, that's an own issue.
Still
comes to that, because the only way then people are going to get settled. And by the way, once we come from this break, I want to play for you a very, very intriguing clip of what the common people essentially understand about what's going on. That you as a president, while we're sitting here talking about what we should be doing, then you should be having people who are explaining what is essentially going on in your government. That all of a sudden now, what we see is disarray from the likes of David Ndii and the likes of Moses Kuria, that we, the common people, will essentially rely on these people to realize that this is exactly what we're doing. They're not saying it. They're not saying it is you have a brilliant plan, but
it is insensitive.
Yes,
it is insensitive of them to speak the way they're speaking.
That's it.
And I think that came clearly. That came out clearly in the Deputy President's statement yesterday. That these are our employers. Actually, all of us employ these people, and we expect them to provide solutions. Yes, and the moment they speak the way they speak, and they use the language that they're using, of course, that is insensitive and callous, and that is what a lot of Kenyans are finding a problem with.
Yes.
But remember, again, we say political communication, all politics is local and so on and so forth. At the same time, there is a constituency that is being addressed. So if you're not being addressed, don't get yourself into an address that does not concern you.
John, were you being addressed by Moses Kuria? Let me just get that clear. Were you not being addressed by Moses Kuria?
He was addressing his constituency. He has a constituency. He was addressing his constituency. Yeah. So we have to be very, very careful. Otherwise, we'll be riled up by so many things that are happening, and unfortunately, unfortunately, that is not the conversation we should be having. It is insensitive, yes. It is insensitive of them to say the way the things they are saying.
Yes.
Because again, like I said, to reiterate, that we need to be told it shall be well. Everything is going to be fine. Mungu mbele, tutakuwa sawa.
Yes.
Because at the end of the day, some of these factors that are affecting the cost of living, what in economics we call exogenous, as in outside our control. The shilling is weakening. Why is it weakening? It's weakening because of American monetary and fiscal policy. Yes? So, and it's a problem that is across the globe. Remember, if you don't look at the international news, you might think whatever is happening in Kenya, it's not a justification, of course, is a particularly Kenyan problem. But it is not. Even in Uganda, they are complaining about the cost of things. It's just that they are lucky food is more abundant in Uganda than it is for us.
Yes.
And we're coming off the back of a very serious drought. But food has always been cheaper in Uganda and Tanzania. Remember, throughout the drought period, we were importing a lot of maize from across the border, isn't it? You remember there was a blockade at some point at the border where they refused to allow maize to cross over into Kenya. And those are the real sort of issues. It is not to say that it removes any or all responsibility from government.
Yes.
They must do something. But remember again, if you dig deeper, yes, if you look at under the surface, things are actually happening. despite what people are saying.
Pretty much.
Yeah.
Guess what? Then, Ragalo, once we come back from this break, if indeed the problem is communication, do we expect that once the president comes back, that he's just going to put the record straight, because there's been a lot of communication within his government? I think you saw this weekend, one Alfred Keter is a man who's back in the limelight as well, at the backyard of the president, enjoyed support, sort of telling the people within the president backyard that things are not working in this government, and it's not okay for people to stand within the government and threaten us and tell us exactly how we should be doing our own, we should be running our own economy within the president backyard. If indeed he's watching that, if indeed Rigathi Gachagua is speaking, should the president come back and at least then try and explain? Because the president is a man who has faulted some of these CSS for not being able to communicate how they're supposed to be communicating to the people of Kenya. Once we come back right here on the Morning Rift, come do the last part of our conversation this morning with John and Ragalo. Talk to us, should the president come and put the record straight? And do you think that Moses Kuria and David Ndii should be fired, like Bonnie Kalwale thinks, once we come back?
Tunafurahia kuwa hapa maeneo ya Iego Primary School na bila shaka leo watu wengi watapokea chakula. Leo kutakuwa na furaha katika nyumba nyingi. Vile vile pia tunafurahia kwa sababu kuna tangi, kumekuwa na shida ya maji hapa. Kutakuwa na kidogo tutakuwa tumetatua. Kama kawaida yote ni kwa hisani ya Tatua Tatu.
Tunashukuru sana Tatua Tatu. I am proud to be associated with Tatua Tatu. Tunafurahia sana na tuendelee hivyo hivyo na Mungu atazidi kutuinua.
Kila wakati ambapo unacheza Tatua Tatu unafanikisha shughuli hii. Kwa hivyo usichoke, endelea kucheza, huenda ukashinda, lakini wakati ambapo pia unacheza kuna wengine wanashinda. Shukrani sana.
As the night falls, we come to life to bring you a comprehensive broadcast from the numerous events happening across our 47 counties.
When it breaks, it matters, and each story is important.
If it's Thursday, join me, Nancy Lima, and my able panelists as we break down the law jargons and analyze the Constitution in a way only you can understand.
The news cycle never stops, neither does time. We cover each and every sector and present to you factual and accurate occurrences. This is where facts win the day. Join me,
Nancy Lima,
Ian Keitani, Tuesday, every Wednesday,
Thursday,
as from 9 p.m. on The Insight, only on Lookuptv.
All right. Welcome back to the Morning Drift. Let's then chat the last part of our conversation this morning in as regards what's going on in the Kenya Kwanza government. And indeed, the gentlemen on a panel are saying, well, there are things that we should be focusing on right now, other than what's going on between David Ndii, Rigathi Gachagua, and Moses Kuria. As the Daily Nation puts it this morning, is that once the president comes back, there's just so much that he has to fight, if indeed his popularity in the country. By the way, if you did look at that report by Infotrack, which Kenyans put it at 55%, we do not know whether today, if Infotrack then goes back to the Kenyans to ask him about his approval ratings after this rise, whether he still get 55%. If indeed the problem is communication. Ragalo.
The big problem with this government is pride. It's not communication. Mm-hmm. When you're too proud, you forget you're supposed to explain something to someone. Yes. When you're meek and humble, you'd want that person to understand before you even bring out what you're bringing.
Yes.
Those are two people who are different. So pride, you don't care. you leave the country a night before.
Yes.
That same night things happen tomorrow morning. And why I'm saying this, during Uhuru's time, we would know fuel prices 2 days before they are done. EPRA would communicate even in papers like this. That's what I'm saying. If you make an humble, you communicate before and tell you, due to this and this and this and this, the fuel prices will be adjusted as from 14th night. So on 12th, you know fuel is adjusting on 14th, and this is the fuel prices that are coming. If I'm saying things that didn't happen in this country, someone should tell me. But this one, nobody said anything. People woke up in the morning and they saw things happened at night. They were like, guy, hapa ndio tuko sasa. Hapa ndio imekuwa. You know, when you're proud, you don't care. You're like, after all, mimi ni mdosi. Sasa, watafanya nini? Pandisha hiyo kitu, mimi naenda zangu. That's what happens. So why didn't they prepare Kenyans of the eventuality? Communication. So people are angry, not that ulipandisha, why didn't you let us know? You know, sometimes you may think people are angry because prices may panda. People are angry because you're not talking to us. You're not engaging us. Another one. Where is Atuoli? The bridge between the government and the workers. The guy would communicate to workers what the government is doing. What is the function of KOTU? Yes. If you look at the functions of KOTU, welfare of workers. Where is KOTU today telling workers, by the way, and you know we are doing KOTU's job today, right now here. We are seated here with my brother John. We are doing KOTU's job. KOTU should tell workers, by the way, this has gone up, but we are talking with the government. You're going to have increase of this much. This is what we're proposing. Against this, and this will happen like this, like this. Where is Muruli, the former Secretary General of KOTU? May his soul rest in peace. Where is Atuoli of 20 years ago? Not Atuoli who is securing his position of job today. Where is Atuoli who will not jump pa? Today Atuoli is jumping here. Yes. To an extent even telling Raila, oh, it's like Atuoli has become a politician.
Yes.
I'm not hitting Atuoli. I'm asking, where are you? Where is Atuoli who would tell people, of course the fuel prices are here. You know, Kitambo, if this would happen, Atuoli will be having meetings, one in Bungoma, one in Kakamega, one in Nairobi, to explain. He would be in City Stadium talking with workers.
Yes.
Where is Atuoli? He would have had a press conference, even emergency meeting of his leaders to explain to Kenyans what's happening. Where is Atuoli? Where is KOTU? Communication. Workers are on their own. Where are Federation of Kenya Employees? FKE. They used to have meetings up Kilimani up there where the offices are. Yeah. They would be now talking, telling Kenyans this is how production is and this is, where are they? Seriously? That is how our country went? I'm not talking to the government. I'm talking to those small sectors that will be communicating before even the government now coughs. Yes. So now the chief the civil society. Yeah. Now the chief communicator is the president. What is he going to tell us? Obviously, the president will spin it to his side, what fits him. Okay? But the people who should be communicating are akina KOTU, civil society, nanini na nani. People should know where they are. Where is the Law Society of Kenya? What is their function? Their function is not going to court. Where is the Gibson Kamau Kurias and the others who left? The Law Society of Kenya will come in such times to even explain this is their job. Yeah. Because they are lawyers, they understand the economy law, there is commercial law, what law. There are so many sections. They expect a doctor to come and talk about these things. He knows what? He knows how homa can be treated. So, we have lost it. Communication. Yes. So, we want Moses Kuria to come and communicate. That's why he said, wachana na Moses bana. Moses Kuria kuja atuambie nini? Yeye mwenyewe amejijua kwanza, amejicommunicate. He is talking to his people. You know, yes. Moses Kuria ni mcheshi. Yuko kwa war kila wakati. So when he communicates that, he's inflicting emotion to his people. Yes. Na kuna wale anaongeleshanga unasikia mdosi ameongea.
Yep.
You know. But we want sober talking. Where are they?
Yep.
Where are they? We need people like PwC, PricewaterhouseCoopers, who would give us what do you call this? An overview. Though it is so technical theirs, but they give an overview. People who understand like him now economics, he will come tell us, PwC walikuwa nasema hivi. They eat it for us and they give us which is already chewed nicely. Where are PwC? I mean, we lost it. So if Moses is the one to communicate, if Ndi is the one to communicate, Ndi is an economist, he knows where we are. Where are they? Hapo ndio shida iko. And that's why the paper here wrote, death of a trade union. It's not trade ya kuuza. It is union ya wafanyikazi. Here you have everyone here. Are they speaking? No. Then who is going to speak for us? Kenyans are on their own. They should speak on their own and decide on their own.
Yes.
When you ask about communication, communication ilisha kitambo. Kitambo.
Yes.
When you have a leader who only wears bling bling, nothing else, he can afford it, but surely, at which age?
Yes.
Him and Sonko, who is competing each other?
This is one of those quotes that we
and
have
when
to
you talk about
about
communication, when you look at the paper,
this
is a person wearing bling bling like this, and is the one to communicate to you about the economy and how it's going to affect you.
Yes.
This is outrageous. And I think Nation put it this way to make us understand the kind of leaders we are having and the people who are supposed to tell us what is supposed to be happening. When you look at this, and if you are people of constructive mind, this person is coming to tell you the way economy is doing badly, and he's shining his fingers, his earrings, his what? Economy nawatetea akiwa hivi. What? Now this is actually communication. That's why tulikuwa tunaambiwa muktadha. Unaangalia picha na you will give a paragraph about the picture you're seeing and what your mind tells you.
What it is communicating. He raises a very valid point,
John,
with regard to just a quick one, to reinforce what he's saying.
Yes.
That the traditional sort of channels of communication, or the people who would lead from the front, we no longer have those ones. So you include your trade unions, civil society, the church, and so on and so forth. So now we are left as Kenyans, everybody to make their own noise wherever they are. And the moment you do that, it makes the whole sort of situation very confused and look very confused. So he actually raises a very valid point.
Yes. And that's why Moses is telling you chimba kisima yako, because you are making too much noise everywhere.
He's a man who should be worried. Since we're looking at this from every angle, then if we're going to look at it politically, then the president at least should be worried that within his own backyard, the people are using the cost of living and the recent fuel price hikes to gain political mileage and to actually have a conversation within his political backyard. This is Alfred Kettel, and let me quote him. He said that I'm not about to change. I've got no apology to make unless we say it as it is. Many people will suffer. You stood on a platform of bottom up to uplift the many lowly Kenyans. Now you've forgotten that by increasing fuel prices, you're making ordinary citizens continue to suffer. And within that barrier ceremony this weekend, he seemed to have enjoyed a lot of support from the mourners who came in to attend that funeral. Goes on to say, let Kenya Kwanza members of parliament within that political gathering show us the difference between the price of fuel in the opposition areas and pro-government areas. Now, the cost of living is on another level. They have made it worse than Uhuru Kenyatta. Again, enjoyed support. There was uproar within that particular setting. Then, in the context of communication, let's see the rebuttal that we did have from the Kenya Kwanza side. I mean, the man who the president would rely on to communicate effectively, even to give him political mileage, in his backyard. Let me read for you a quote by Oscar Sudi, who said, well, the recent hike in fuel prices is a global issue.
Global.
Where were the likes of Alfred Keter when all this was happening? Did he just resurrect? So it's a personal battle now with any other person who's going to deal with this issue. And John, just before I get back to you, let's then look at exactly what is happening in international fuel prices, even as we're talking about this being a global issue. You and I do know that indeed in 2023, the focus was that international fuel prices were essentially going to be lower than they were in 2021 or 2022.
They were high in 2022.
Yes. Currently, we're talking about the highest that is projected this year. It's going to be at $94 a barrel. That's below 100. All right? So essentially, for any other person who's looking at this issue, then you will say that you really have to start disintegrating this issue and look at this particular country's single-handedly. That there's something that is happening within your country that is essentially making fuel prices jump. Kenya is our case where we're talking about $1 now being at more than 150 shillings, essentially meaning that there's something that is not clicking in our economy that is making a lose against the dollar. That is where the communication should be coming from, as opposed to being saying, well, you know, it's a global issue, but then, George, it's not a global issue. Let's just be truthful about it.
Some of these things are very, very technical.
Yes.
And for us to process some of these things can be quite challenging.
Yes.
Including our politicians, by the way. You know, we put our politicians on a pedestal and imagine that they are brightest and the sharpest and they know these things. Most of these things they don't even understand.
They don't.
Yes, they don't even understand
You may
what
be
is
knowing
going
more
on.
than them.
Yes. You find that your common man on the street there
Not too much.
knows more than some of these parliamentarians or people sitting in positions
There's a
of
political
leadership.
analyst who told me that you can take me to court, but I'm a million times clever than Oscar Sudi.
Yes. Yes, definitely.
And educated than Oscar Sudi, so I would argue better than him.
Yes. It's just that they are smart in their own way. They are able to mobilize, and of course you have to give them that. But now, coming back to this particular issue of oil prices, and of course the dollar, the exchange rate, and the price of the international price of oil. It's actually $99 as of Friday.
Yes.
It was on 99 shilling. No, sorry, $99 a barrel.
Does it?
That is one, and then number two, the OPEC, I think, in conjunction with Russia and all that sort of international politics, have actually cut oil production.
Does it?
Yes, and we know from the fundamentals of economic supply and demand. So that will somehow feed into this particular issue. The truth of the matter, again, not saying that Sudi is right, is that we are not the only ones who are experiencing this problem. Even Tanzania are having the same problem. Uganda is having the same problem. So what do we do? Of course, it doesn't mean that we shouldn't be doing anything. Yes, but if you go back to what I'm going to say something very, very controversial here, and I don't know what Ragalo will feel of it. But the way the administration is thinking, yes, of course, like I said, these things take time for us to start feeling the effects.
Yes.
And what basically the president is looking at, he's looking at, he's guaranteed another term, yes? And this is a controversial bit. So out of his 10 years, we've only done 1 year. We still have 9 years to go, yes? Out of these 9 years, like I said, it's a long time. Some of the policy interventions that we are seeing will have started to bear fruit. And then again, Kenyans have to also remember that by the very nature of the economy, it is quite cyclical. That is to say that there are ups and downs, there are ebbs and flows. So the economy will grow at certain times and contract at certain times. Government revenues will go up, go down. Yes. Employment will go up, will go down. So that natural sort of cycle, if you were to fit it into that 9 years that are remaining of the Dr. RUTO's administration, Actually, he feels, and that is why part of that arrogance is coming from, that we are actually going to have these things sorted out in the goodness of time.
Wow. Okay. I'm not going to ask a question. I'm just looking at you.
Yeah.
There's still 9 years to go.
My brother started it well, but he finished it badly. When he came in, that's why I told you arrogance and know-it-all.
Yeah.
They went to buy oil in Middle East.
Yeah.
And using Kenya shillings. And the dollar was going to go down below 115. Back then, the dollar was doing 120 something. So actually 135. So he said he's coming down to 115.
Yeah.
He was in Mombasa and even said that if you're keeping the dollar in the house, you're in trouble because you may end up.
Yes. By the way, I want you to just look at that clip again. And I tweeted about it. I'm gonna share with you that link. Guess who was laughing uncontrollably behind the president when he was making that announcement? David Ndii. Guess you knew very well
it is not
through that
possible.
laughter that it wasn't going to happen.
Yeah.
David Ndii. And I asked people, can you look at David Ndii's face when the president is standing right in front of him saying it's going to come to 120 and then lower and lower than what it was? He laughed uncontrollably. He knew it's not going to happen.
He knew.
Yes, he
So,
knew.
you see, there is an honest person here. And that's why I said, I'm defending David Ndii.
Yes.
I've not said anything wrong about him.
Yes.
He's an honest man. If we are talking now, if you look at the honest people in this government, David is honest. He tells you the way you want to hear it. You like, yes, not what you want to hear. He tells you, now you believed them. It is true. You believed a politician, shauri yako. I would rather believe Ndii.
Would you have Ndii in your office if you're president?
Yes.
Why?
Because he will tell me to my face. He fears nothing. He's been in a civil society, he fought, he's been in and out. So when you have Ndii there, you have one person, somebody you cannot kunja, you cannot actually bend his back. He's someone on the face, he'll tell you, this one is not working. You utafume, but at the end of the day, amekwambia. So sacking Ndii is going to be detrimental because he's the only person who can tell it to the president anyway. And tomorrow he's just taking his tea, relaxed. These other guys will not tell the president like that. They'll be like, you know, mkubwa, unafanya kazi mzuri na anafanya mbaya.
So very true. Yeah.
So very true, he's saying. So Ndii knew it can't happen. So we made a mistake by going that road. And I was saying the way the dollar loses, the Kenya shilling loses value, the more you change it. Because there is no way you could buy oil with Kenya shillings. Whoever said and called it petrodollar was not stupid. You cannot call it Kenya shilling oil. It was called petrodollar. It cannot be petro shilling. It will never be. So we lost a lot as we were buying in billions of money.
Yes.
We kept losing. So we have to cover up the losses. Then when we realize we are losing, we are now pulling out. And when you pull out from an agreement, when you sign agreement, if you've ever done a huge tender, now these tenders are selling in mbili. You go to central bank, you buy treasury bonds, you actually deposit bonds. So that ukiruka, you will poteza. So you cannot get out of an agreement when you're doing huge tenders. You will have to pay. Tenders like this one, international tenders, they are actually international obligations. So if you pull out, you will still have to pay them. So we pulled out of this oil thing, we still pay. And I gave you the example of Aror Camorer. We still paid the Italians, and nothing had happened on the ground, not even Mwamamboga kuchimba, no one. But we still had to pay them. And actually they took her to international court to pay them.
Yes.
When we pulled out of a tender from Kilifi during Jacob Juma's time, you remember Jacob Juma, there was this Madini in Kilifi they were chimbaing. We had to pay in trillion shillings. Jacob Juma took us to international court and we paid Jacob Juma even posthumously. You Google, you'll see. So that one will pay. So these things are the ones affecting the Kenya shilling against the dollar, against the oil. And that comes to the petrol prices. So the petrol prices in Kenya is because we made one bad choices on going to do bad tenders. Secondly, the dollar shilling against the Kenya shilling. Why is the Kenya shilling losing? Obvious. Very obvious. We've affected our economy by changing things too fast. I told you Kibaki went systematically. He didn't just come, it wouldn't have worked. Kwanza you were at negative. He would have done that, now you have gone negative 10. So Kibaki did it slow motion. By the time Kibaki was doing 5 years, is when he was doing even the last bit of Moi's changes. But this one, within 6 months, we had done so much changes, it would have left the Kenya shilling. And I told you, the minute you change anything in the policies in the government, you affect the shilling. It's automatically. So I don't know. So we do that, how do we stabilize? It will take us a long time. And we will not stabilize to calm down. We'll stabilize to maintain the status quo. But now how do we uplift people? That's why I kept saying, I'm not wishing bread to come down, because it will not. Not even oil, our cooking oil, not even unga. But how do you bring John from where he is up? Eric from he is up, yes, so that Eric and John can afford that unga, which will come all the way to his family.
Yes.
Yes. Now, Probox used to be the unit of transport and even business, both farms and private business. Now, Probox is unaffordable. Which other vehicle can you go to? And when Probox came, people bought it. It was the car. It is still the car. But how do you make people afford it so that the business go around? What did Kibaki do? He went and talked to people. And he realized that people needed something to move. So before Pikipiki came, there was 0 rate on bicycles. In Nyanza, they call it Ngware. People were cycling. And bikes zilejaa kila mahali. Then Pikipiki came, 0 on Pikipiki. So people could afford Pikipiki with 80,000, 60,000. You understand? So he made sure that small person runs the economy. And that's why I was talking about Chang'aa. Because we cannot keep copying people, because it's already been done. What else can be done? We still have another infrastructure, big one, which can be done. Yes. So what can we do? So when the small man was able to run the economy, so what again Kibaki did? People told Kibaki,
yes,
for us to pick a loan, you need hii kitu inaitwa nini? Hii ya KRA, PIN.
Yes.
And for you to have a PIN, ulikuwa unapewa mpaka barua na chief. Bro, you remember. Chief akupe barua. Uende kwa pastor kuandikie barua. Do you know I took a PIN then? He took a PIN kitambo sana. Because of mambo yangu ya kibiashara. So I took a PIN for me to have a PIN. Wala. So Kibaki removed all those bureaucracies of getting a PIN, getting a passport, and getting an ID. You understand? So for you to take a loan, Kibaki was told by people that ndio upate title deed lazima shamba yako iwe eka moja.
Yes.
Any land below 1 acre was being given an allotment number. So people could not access loans. So what did he do? They removed all that and brought up to 40 by 80 to get a loan. So watu wakaanza ku run the economy. So when multitudes ran the economy and the banks now came below to the level of the people, some banks would have a minimum of 20K to run the account. They came to a minimum of 100 up to 0. Now you walk in, they give you pitch and everything. Na unaambiwa tembe uteka pesa ta ile siku utajisikia. So people started running the economy. That is how our economy ran.
Yes.
Right now, that small person, Mama Mboga, cannot run the economy. Because the interest rates of the banks are high. How will they pay? Kibaki removed it from 20%, I remember, 21, something like that. Akaileta chini. So watu waliingia kuchukua loan. This is what we are talking about. I'm not saying unga iteremuke.
Yes.
I'm saying ule jamaa aeze kununua hiyo unga. Because ukiteremsha unga umecollapse the umeua nchi sasa ndio imekufa.
It's very true what he's saying.
Yes.
That, in terms of what Kibaki was able to do.
Yes.
But unfortunately, the part of the conversation that we are avoiding is that we find ourselves in a very, very different situation. At the moment, government is borrowing, the last one, 17%, 18%, treasury bills and treasury bonds.
Imagine.
So the question becomes, why would the Barclays, ABSA or Equity...
Actually, I had written T-bills here.
Yes. Why would Equity give me money, and yet they've got risk-free T-bills at 17%? But unfortunately, we find ourselves in a situation where government is borrowing and borrowing. Like I said, we spend 220 billion shillings a month.
Yes.
Out of that 220 billion shillings, 120 billion goes towards paying debt. Yes, so only a half of that is going to run the economy.
Yeah.
So we are in that situation where, let me not use that word on national television. We are in that situation where we are basically, yes, and things are in a situation where, unfortunately, Kibaki was able to do a lot in those initial years and stimulate the economy, like he says. And the idea is not necessarily to bring Unga back down to 70 shillings, because it will never happen.
It will never happen.
We don't even want it there. But how do we enable everybody to afford
that unga
at 130 shillings, for example, so that everybody is able to get on with their lives without necessarily feeling that they've been left behind. But in terms of what government is borrowing and what it is doing with those debts, perhaps that is a conversation.
That's a conversation, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's clear it like this. We only have 15 seconds. We're signing out. In fact, there's a bed playing below us right now. This is Kenyans essentially telling Moses Kuria essentially how to effectively communicate then, and David Indi. This is what he tweeted. I repeat, petrol will be 260 shillings by February. And El Nino is coming in 3 weeks. That will last till March. These are global and climate change driven. Responsible leaders ought to tell the truth to prepare the people. You can throw stones at me all you want. Wait,
that's why
Ms. Rono goes in and says, as a leader, it is wise to give some hope once in a while. For example, you could tweet in this manner. We hear your concerns about fuel prices and are committed as government to finding a sustainable solution as soon as possible.
Yes. So the communication very, very important.
It's
like
clear, isn't it?
It's very clear, but
communication is correct. Yes. We are going to have El Nino that is going to affect us.
Yes.
We are going to have 2% addition on 16%. Yes. So fuel yenu itaifika 260. Yes. So Moses Kuria amekuprepare. I love him.
That is exactly what he was saying.
If you have a problem with that, me today I'm defending him. Me today I'm defending him.
Because it's just that we don't want to hear that.
We don't want to hear that.
The way it is being said, like I said, we expect that probably we'll say, let's close our eyes and pray and hope that everything is going to be fine.
Let me ask you.
Because that's how we do things.
I know, but 1 second. What if Moses becomes a true person and it is at 160? Will we fight the government?
At least you promised at 260, it was wrong.
Told us. If it happens it is 250, we say, at least it's lesser than what Moses had said. At least he would have communicated. This is what I'm saying. Though we are looking at it wrongly, but this is what I'm saying. I'm only having a problem with that only.
Guys,
why is it what?
Guys, we take a break right here on the Morning Brief. Once we come back, let's talk about how we can achieve peace in Africa by promoting peace within people of different faiths, right in the country and across Africa as well. Good morning.
Infinity Industrial Park is one of the largest private industrial